Welcome, Manhwa friends. May you all be in good health today. Without further ado, let's begin our adventure on the Takari Manhwa YouTube channel. Finally, the initial lineup for the Grand Festival has been announced. Students representing the Academy gather on the field to see their match schedules and find out their potential opponents. Luen, standing in front of the announcement, searches for the schedule of his Academy's matches and wants to know who his opponent will be. Upon seeing the match scheme, Ignite Academy will face Oota Academy. However, a student behind Luen remarks that Oota is the weakest academy and will be an easy victory. Luen turns around to see who is speaking. Meanwhile, his friend standing next to him looks very afraid upon hearing the speaker's words. "Who would have thought you would be our first opponent?" "We're lucky to have some fun," says Seda Malkiri, the leader of the student group from the National Magic Academy Oota. Luen silently gazes at the representatives from Oota. In the previous festival, Ignite Academy was soundly defeated by Oota Academy. Moreover, Oota Academy is known for playing dirty. Students who participated in the previous festival also experienced trauma due to Oota Academy's antics. Ignite Academy students really don't want to face Oota Academy because they consider Oota students quite menacing. Seda Malkiri claims that Ignite Academy students are very weak and not even worthy opponents for warm-up. Seda expresses that facing Ignite Academy would be incredibly boring. Oota students laugh upon hearing Seda speak like that. Students from other academies start whispering among themselves. They hope to face Ignite because in the previous festival, Ignite Academy was at the bottom. Luen, surrounded by students mocking his academy, falls silent. Then Luen, head down after hearing insults from other academy students, begins to smile. He sees this as an opportunity to prove to everyone that Ignite Academy is not the same as it used to be. Luen said that he had been looking forward to facing Oota. Seda, upon hearing Luen's words, began to observe him. "It seems that there are many students participating in the Grand Festival," Luen said to Oota. Seda was puzzled by how Luen could say that, and what Luen intended to do. Luen approached Seda and said that he wanted to introduce himself to everyone present. Then Luen shouted to introduce himself. "Everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Luen Ardell, and I am the representative from Academy that you've been talking about." Oyota's students fell silent, watching Luen confidently introduce himself to all the students there. Luen then stated that he would stop talking now, but he had one request. Never refer to Academy Ignite as Academy, because it didn't sound pleasant. Seda was shocked to hear Luen say that. She started to feel a little annoyed with Luen. Luen added that he had been in last place for too long, and he was tired of it all. And firmly, Luen declared that he wanted to try to be the first. He said all of this right in front of Seda and the other Oota students. The Oota students felt very uncomfortable hearing Luen's words. "If we don't call you Academy, then what else? Are you all joking? Stop acting tough." The Oota students began to mock Luen's statement. "Furthermore, is this some kind of neighborly competition? First place? Ridiculous. Who are you anyway?" Arrogant Seda began to belittle Luen in front of everyone. Luen then said that he was the trump card for Academy Ignite and would not back down from facing anyone, just as the headmaster had said to Luen before he left for the festival. Later, when the students of Academy Oota were in the dormitory, they were both angry with Luen and curious about his track record at the academy. Seda and some Oota students sat in the living room chairs of the dormitory. They held a meeting to find out more about Luen. One of the Oota students had already researched information about Luen and mentioned that Luen used to be a failing student. Seda found this odd, considering Luen was chosen as the school representative. Then the student explained to Seda, "I'm not entirely sure, but at the beginning of the semester, his situation turned 180 degrees, and he became a high-achieving monster." Seda listened seriously to their friend's explanation. Seda still couldn't believe how Luen's situation could change so drastically, along with his grades at school. Their friend added that Luen's confidence emerged due to his rapidly improving abilities. Then Seda recalled their teacher's words in the train carriage on the way to Altien. "If that person possibly has something we don't know." Seda began to understand what their teacher meant. However, With her arrogance, Seta still believed that Academy Ignit was a weaker academy compared to others. Seta stood up from her seat. She planned to teach the Academy Ignit students a lesson using the same method they had used in the previous festival. This approach had become a long-standing tradition at Academy Oota. Back at the Academy Ignit dormitory, the bright sunlight began to stream through the windows. Luen started explaining the strategy they would use in the upcoming festival when facing Academy Oota. Luen tried to explain the strategy his team would use. He said, "Tomorrow is the grenade-throwing event. It's a competition where all team members, except the student representatives, will compete." Luen also added that the challenge in the game to be played tomorrow was throwing mana grenades at the mithril golem. If a team manages to destroy the golem first, they will be declared the winner. However, one of Luen's friends was very concerned because Luen wouldn't participate in the team competition tomorrow. Luen realized that the individual talents within his team were not on par with the Academy Oota students. Still, Luen assured his friend that the Academy Ignit team would win. All Ignit students were surprised by Luen's statement. They wondered how they could win the match when their abilities were below those of the Oota students. Luen emphasized that the upcoming match was a team competition. He stressed that teamwork was essential. If teamwork could be executed, victory would come easily. Then, Luen asked his friends to form 4 groups. His friends were puzzled about why they needed to create 4 groups. Luen explained the tasks for each group. Group 1 would warm up the mana grenades. Group 2 would carry the mana grenades. Group 3 would attack the golem, while Group 4 would hinder the opposing team by restoring their golem. His friends were confused by the strategy Luen provided. They felt that it would take too long to destroy the golem that way, especially since the Oota students would deploy 30 of their own simultaneously to attack the golem, while Luen's team would have fewer members attacking the golem. And undeniable, the Oota students were not weak opponents. Luen listened attentively to his friends and observed them closely. Then, Luen asked for opinions from their friends about what Cayenne had said in front of everyone. That Ignit students would no longer be last, but would become the first. Luen told their friends that Kian's statement was honest because Luen had great confidence in the abilities of all the selected students participating in the festival. "I will do whatever I can to help, even games I cannot participate in," Luen said, pounding the table in front of them. Luen motivated their friends to believe in the strategy they had devised in front of those who felt desperate about tomorrow's match. "If Oota puts out one, we'll put out 2 or 3. For a team with exceptional individual abilities, the usual approach might be effective. But that method still takes a long time for our team," Luen continued. Jason, Luen's close friend, was the first to believe in the strategy Luen had created. Other students also trusted and believed that Luen's strategy would be effective in the match. Then, Luen assigned tasks to the selected students. The team competing tomorrow would be led by Hayes. Zola, Mil, Freya, and Ayake were assigned to warm up the bombs. Meanwhile, Taemons was tasked by Luen to carry the bomb that had already been ignited by the first group. Luen selected their group based on the abilities and strengths of the students, as Luen could see each individual's strengths and abilities using the player eye skill possessed by Luen. With the player eye, Luen could see and even penetrate the nature of the target. Thanks to the player eye, Luen could minimize weaknesses and focus on the strengths of the group members. Ignit Academy students looked happy. They saw a great opportunity to win the match tomorrow. Luen, feeling joyful and grateful, smiled because the members of the Ignit Academy group were becoming more confident and the desired hope had risen. Then, there was an Ignit student who opened the dormitory door in a near-death state. Everyone in the dorm room was shocked to see the student who had arrived. The student was badly beaten because they had been attacked while outside the dormitory. Then, the student called out to Luen with a trembling voice. Luen immediately approached their friend. Luen asked why their face was so battered. The student explained that it was the work of Oota students that had left them in this condition. Luen, having listened to their friend's story, became very angry. Luen hadn't expected Oota students to resort to such unfair tactics. In the Oota students' dormitory lounge, they were casually relaxing, sitting in the guest room chairs when suddenly they were startled by a knock on the door. Luen went to the Oota dormitory alone. The Oota students were waiting for Luen's arrival, knowing that the student they had beaten would surely report to Luen. "What did I tell you? Of course you came. What can you even do? Do you think you're capable of anything?" Seta said to Luen, considering themselves stronger than Luen. Luen simply smiled in response to Seta's words and invited Seta to step outside the dormitory. "Thank you so much for watching and spending time with us today. We greatly appreciate your support and enthusiasm. Have a good rest and see you in the next episode. Keep your spirits up, and don't forget to always smile. See you soon."